Hey Mike, how are you?
Good, Chris. How are you, buddy?
Good man. How you doing?
Awesome.
Thanks
Awesome.
thanks for doing this.
Got on the golf course today, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a little busy with the Flyers recently. We got the Provorov deal obviously last week. Patrick Sharp was hired today. I guess we'll start there. Any kind of thoughts on Sharp getting added to the Flyers hockey ops team?
Well, it's funny because when we played in Philly, Sharpie was my roommate, right? And then he had a hard time. It's funny, as a player, he had to end up with a really nice career, but as a player, he had a hard time like with Ken Hitchcock,
Hmm.
and they him to Chicago, and then he went off and was a pretty good star, in Chicago. So I know Patrick, when he was first starting out and he won a Calder Cup there with like Carter Richards with the Phantoms and all that. But again, it's really interesting because, you throw in Danny without a ton of experience, and then you throw in Jonesy, who's never been in executive position before.
Hmm.
And then Patrick Sharp was doing TV and on NBC for a while, and then he was doing TV in Chicago. So it's very interesting. Like it's definitely like a new angle on stuff, right? A
Yeah.
new take. When people get ripped on for just hiring and like regurgitating guys, like Danny is certainly, and the Flyers are certainly outside the box right now on some new blood and new thoughts and new ideas. So
Hmm.
I don't know, like I guess we'll see how it goes. So
Yeah, no, for sure, and I feel like that to me that's one of the key things with all this. I think Mike is the fact that it's not just like you're adding guys, with experience because obviously these guys have experience, just not in these roles. I think that's one thing that's kind of evident in the whole thing. But I think the biggest part of it too is that it feels I and I guess the way to put it is, to me, it just feels better to be a Flyers fan again. Like it feels refreshing, and it's not like I personally was never lost that fandom or anything like that. Obviously, I told you before, I can't skate. I've never really played anything higher than ball, but it feels really good to just be a fan again, and it seems like there's a real, like, they're legitimately going at this rebuild in the right way. The second part of that as well, so Patrick Sharp comes in, Valerie Camillo steps down, president of business operations. Is there anything that you could maybe comment on with that as well? It seems like that there's, it was more on her terms, and to me, it was a little weird, I guess, because of the way that the press conference went when they announced Jonesy and Briere and everything. It seemed like everybody was kind of on the same page.
well, and I don't know Valerie. I think the dynamics of how the team has been run has changed a lot. It's certainly gotten very corporate with Comcast
Hmm.
and Comcast. Or it seemed like Valerie was in charge of really like redoing Wells Fargo, those business relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like she was like right up her alley. So I'm not sure if something happened or whatever, or she saw something, said, I don't want to be involved. I have no idea. That's just me speculating. When
Right.
somebody leaves quick, you're always like, well, what happened? And
Right.
it seemed like basically said it seemed to me like, reading about her and kind of reading about the situation, that they basically gave her the keys to the castle. Like, this is basically your ship, all the business side of Wells Fargo is up to you, and
Right.
I, I don't know, I guess I don't know what that means. And there's always, again, what we see as the public, so to speak, like there's always more layers underneath, right? And
Right. Right.
so that
Right.
you can only speculate, and you don't want to get in the speculation game either. But it seems like that she was basically in charge of everything, and then changed gears. So I mean, who knows? I
Right.
know there was above her too, and maybe something happened there where she didn't jive with that person that came in when there was a change right above her. But who knows? But certainly, but changing, to the second part of your question, as a Flyers fan, it's certainly like exciting.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
it's certainly something's going to happen here. You're like, okay, well, it's not the same old. You have John Tortorella as a coach, and you can argue that Tortorella, he's not a regurgitation by any means, but he's certainly a personality. And there's certainly some baggage that comes along with John Tortorella. And then you add in Jonesy, you add in Danny, and you add in Sharpie. Now you're like, well, okay, we're going to have some new blood. We're going to have some new ideas here,
Yeah.
And so that's certainly exciting as a fan. And, I guess in January we'll have an idea if it sort of worked that way, and you trade Proven off, and and there's change going on. So I always thought that was the one thing, man. Like organizations and the Flyers are one that didn't stay the same, and if stuff wasn't going right, there was going to be changes, and they'd be changed at the player level, it'd be changed at the executive level, changed at the hockey level, hockey ops level, and certainly all those boxes are checked.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing. I think the biggest thing with it, Mike, too, is just everybody just seems like excited now, and like that just went away. And I think like the biggest thing was like we didn't have to, make that like be the thing. I guess it's like we always kind of had that like that fandom, you know what I mean? Like the Flyers are always that type of fan base. You never really had that, and it seems like that they're certainly taking the whole new era of Arge thing very, very clearly, and they're really attacking it. Just to switch gears a little bit, Vegas up 3-1. Cup is in the building tonight. Have a chance to win on home ice. The atmosphere in this game is going to be absolutely bananas. But as for, I have a couple things here, but I guess we'll start with Florida. Down 3-1. Tkachuk is banged up. Is there any part of you that sees them coming back in this series here or no?
I don't know. I mean, watch Tkachuk play the last game. I mean,
yeah, he's banged up. Yeah,
something's killing him. And at the end of the day, he's the straw that stirs the drink. And if he can't go, they have a really hard time. He's their emotional leader. He's the one that just gets everybody fired up. He drags the rest of the team into the fight. Mm-hmm. And if he's not going to be into it and he can't drag everybody into it, I think they have a really hard time. I mean, I think they have some guys that jump in when he jumps in that they can help, I think they got a few guys that will get involved a little bit. I mean, Gudas is such a pain in the ass, the ex-Flyer. He's a pain in the ass, to play against on the, he's dinged up. He actually... he got popped in game 2 or 3 when he tried to step up on a Vegas guy and got himself in trouble there. Mm-hmm. Like a Sam Bennett, I think he likes to get a little feisty, but it seems like they do it kind of after Tkachuk does it, and he's the leader of that part of the game. That bite part of their game, and if they don't have him, I'm not sure that they have enough emotional energy left because to be an and climb that ladder. They've won on emotion. They've won on some really breaks. And at the end of the day, Kachuk's the guy getting the goals on the last minute. Yeah. He's uncanny. He's so uncanny trying to score, getting those last minute goals. Like if he's not doing it, I don't know who's doing it, So, if you're a betting guy, if you ever had a hunch, I mean, you got to, and I don't know what the line is on Vegas today, but Vegas at home right now with a beaten down Flyers team. I bet my last FanDuel on the Nuggets last night, so I might have to up it. But, it's like if there's a game that's a sure bet is Vegas at home on a beaten down Florida team. In my opinion, I think it's pretty much over tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like that place is gonna be just rocking, and the atmosphere, everything, and again, like Vegas is just the team that like Florida's been able to kind of do this whole thing where like. They kind of like what you said, like they agitate. Tkachuk is part of it, but Vegas just doesn't seem to give a shit about it. Like they just don't react. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the game, Tkachuk's like going at Pietrangelo and he doesn't even respond. It's like they have no answer for them, and it really just seems like the run is over. Just kind of going off that, is there any guy that you could pick right now, I guess, for Vegas, since obviously they're really driving the bus here in the series? Who right now is your Conn Smythe winner? Is there anybody you can think of? Because to me, there's a few. Eichel's one, Hill is another, Pietrangelo, Marchessault. There's certainly it's really hard, I think, to pick one of them. But is there any guy that you could think of?
I think for me, I think, obviously, if Florida wins, it's probably Tkachuk. That's not going to happen. So Marchessault has been so clutch. But for me, it's probably the goaltender Hill. I think there was some jockeying around with goalies in the beginning of the series, in the beginning of the whole playoffs in Vegas. And at the end of the day, he's really settled in. I think he's just been really stellar for them. I think Eichel's been fine. I mean, I don't think he's been as dominant as Tkachuk, like offensively. And as robust, or as timely.
Right.
I mean, I think he plugged away and gotten points and stuff, but he's been injured a couple of times. He's been fine. And when I say fine, I mean he's still like a world class player. But if you're picking, if you got to pick this thing apart, to me, it's Marcia Show's been much more clutch, and but I think you're gonna go with the goalie Hill, and I think he's been as steady, and he's just given him a chance every night. He's been, his numbers are great, and he's just been so solid. So, I mean, I think that's a guy I would have to pick if I had a vote in this whole thing,
Okay.
especially if they close it out tonight, and it's a 1-goal game or something like that. Like he's for.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. I mean, he just had so many timely goals. It's like you can't really not pick him. Just going off that, then there's been some Flyers trade rumors recently, and obviously it's going to be happening really up until probably round 1, and throughout day 2 of the draft and everything as well. A lot of different rumors, a lot of different guys have been talked about getting shipped out. Scott Lawton has been the recent one. For me, Mike, I guess I'll give you my thoughts, and I'll ask you. I think the biggest thing for me with Lawton is just the fact that it's not that I understand why he's being shopped, right? Because he makes $3 million. He's a veteran, a leader, right? Very good face-off guy, good on the PK, all that. I mean, he brings so much, but at the same time, it would really stink to lose him because I think he's a vital part to what the Flyers are trying to build. Is that something that you would agree with?
Yeah, I mean, he's been there for a while, right?
Yeah, since 2012. Yeah,
I think he was breaking in when I was there. And at the end of the day,
a little bit, yeah.
He's a fine player, in Philly, and he's been there 10 years. But is he a cornerstone guy? Is a guy you're going to keep? Or is this a guy you're going to keep building around? I mean, I say that with respect,
Right.
So if I look at 500 NHL games, he has 199 points.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is expendable. Really, I mean, I don't see that as like something that is going to be like, this is a guy we're tied to, right?
Right.
Even through the course of his career, looking at his OHL numbers, 230 games, 219 points. That's okay, in the OHL compared to what people do, that's okay. And even the NHL numbers, he's not even half a point a game.
Right.
And so,
yeah, I mean, outside of last year, he's kind of struggled to get at least 20 goals.
I mean, is this a guy, 18 goals last year, 11, 9, 13, 12, like 19. He hasn't cracked 20 goals in the NHL. Right. I'm like, why are you tied to this guy? 30, 20, 27. I mean, those are, and with all due respect, those are kind of like pedestrian numbers.
Yeah.
Really. They really are. I mean, so, he went to the Worlds this year, had a nice run of the Worlds, but geez, the last 6-7 years in Philly, I mean, these are like numbers that are like, wow, can we survive without these numbers? Probably.
Right.
And if he's, he's 31 or whatever he is, or 29. So if you can get, if you can move him right now, again, we talked about if you're going to move Provorov, and this guy's $3 million, he should be, taken up pretty quickly by, so.
Right.
I
mean, yeah, and look, I feel like there's two different ways to look at it, and I appreciate and the way that you look at it too, because it's like goals. I mean, I personally never really looked at it that way, and obviously it's I think it's different too because he's more of like I think the biggest thing is everybody looks at more of the off ice stuff too, but when you look at it that way on the on ice, it's like the production. It's not that great to kind of keep a guy for just kind of going off what you were saying there.
No, and you don't get paid. Yeah, like the off ice stuff is good, but that's a compliment. At the end of the day, as a player, you're on ice is you're on ice.
Exactly.
And that is what you're doing. And your off ice stuff, your off ice presence, 5%, and that's you get paid for your on ice performance, and that's why you're there. And if you can add a little bit, separate you from somebody else, but the on ice performance to me is
over everything. Yeah.
Well, okay. Is something you could live without.
Right. Exactly. It's definitely fair. All right. So one last thing here, Mike, before I let you go. This is something that I was kind of thinking of for a couple minutes. Well, at least throughout the past week, and I was thinking of different things of what I could try to ask you. So I thought of something that was actually kind of funny at the same time. This is actually just trivia against yourself. So I'm going to ask you questions about you, and I'm curious to see if you remember them. All right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember the first goaltender that you scored your first goal as a Flyer against?
As a Flyer?
Yeah, as a Flyer.
I feel like it was like the Rangers or something. It might be Lundqvist.
It was the Rangers, but it was not Lundqvist.
Oh, it wasn't Lundqvist? It was a Valaket or something? Or?
It was Kevin Weeks.
Kevin Weeks? Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I remember the
Yep.
It was like maybe 5-on-3 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a power play goal. October 5th, 2005. Flyers did lose the game 5-3, but that was your first goal as a Flyer. Second one, as a Flyer, do you know what team that you scored your first hat trick against, which also I should add, it was a natural hat trick against?
Well, that was my only hat trick, so that's an easy answer, actually. Okay. Anaheim.
That's right.
Yeah,
is it really your only hat trick?
That's my only hat trick, man. That was a loaded question.
Wow, it's funny because I was looking at it and I was like, and I'm watching it. I said, oh, 3-0 game, so it was a natural hat trick too. And I was watching it and I'm like, all three goals were different. Like puck at the side of the net, the tip in the slot, and the other one was a 2-on-1 slap shot. So that's kind of different too. It was like getting, three, obviously in a row, and then three different kinds. And then this one is the last one. Only two Flyers played all 82 games in 2007-08. It was you and someone else. I'm curious if you know who the other forward is.
So 05, 06, 07, 7, 8.
7,
the other
8.
forward, I would say it's either Danny or Mike. Like Jeff Carter. Jeff Carter always played a lot of games. It was either Danny or Jeff Carter.
Carter, you're correct.
Carter, okay,
so you were 2 for 3, which is pretty good. Well, actually, you were 2.5 for 3 because you did get the team right on the first one. Yeah, no, that was good. That was nice. Good job, Mike. You remember that. So there you go.
Carts is always healthy. He'd always play all the time.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. Even to this day, still, he was always healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously still playing now, too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, Mike, thanks again, man. I appreciate it. Always good. I appreciate you taking the time and hearing your insight, and I'll talk to you next week, okay?
You got it, Chris. Thank you, buddy.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you.